The Greenwell's Glory is a fantastic wet fly, very popular in Europe. Why it's not fished here in the U.S., I just don't know. It may have to do with the fact that recipes sometimes specify cobbler's wax over floss or cocky bandu hackle, which is impossible to find. Or maybe it's just the fact that nobody fishes wet flies anymore in the U.S. This is Ireland's Alice Conba's take on Greenwell's Glory. And she does some very clever things that make this fly possible for just about anyone to tie these days. I'll explain as we go on. A quick aside about Alice Conba. She's a longtime friend of mine, and I haven't heard from her in a couple of years. She contracted macular degeneration, can no longer tie, and no longer communicates via computer. She's one of the world's great tiers and an even better person. This fly is typically done on a short-shanked wet fly hook, number 12 or 14. The thread here is Danville's Light Olive Flymaster. And it's very important. It's a wax thread. And instead of doing the traditional silk floss dirtied up with cobbler's wax, Alice just uses this thread for the body. And it's perfect. So you don't have to worry about obtaining cobbler's wax anywhere. I've tied in a piece of gold wire, and the size is small for the gold wire. Alice's flies have long tails, a hook length or more. Usually 3 or 4 strands of bronze mallard. It's part of her unique style. Her flies are small and compact, but the tails are long. And all I can tell you is the flies fish big time. Alice's father was a gillie or guide in Ireland, and she comes by her skills honestly. Here I'm flattening the thread to make a smooth body. And Alice typically does 4 turns of ribbing on her flies. Trying to squeeze 5 in would be impractical on a short-shanked hook. Her flies are very compact. One of the things I really love about them. Much smaller than wet flies you're used to seeing in fly shops in the States. This is a right mallard quill. Cutting a slip. I'll do the same from a left mallard quill. We'll pair these together to make the wing. The slips are easier to deal with if you take them from the upper half of the feather. Alice's flies are unique. Well, they're not unique for European flies, but for American flies they would be unique because the hackle is typically tied in front of the wing, rather than behind it as Ray Bergman did and other Americans have traditionally. The next unique aspect of the fly that Alice has come up with is the sub for cocky bandu hackle. That hackle's nearly impossible to come up with or find anywhere these days, as is its closely related cousin kneecap hackle. A cocky bandu hackle is a brown hackle with a black center and black tips. Alice's sub is just the reverse of that. It has light brown in the center, light brown at the tips, and black in between them. It's closer to a kneecap hackle, truly, than a cocky bandu, but it works beautifully here. So this sub, which is a jungle cock body feather dyed brown, which gives it a brown center and brown tips, is actually the reverse of cocky bandu, but it works beautifully. It gives the same overall impression, and it's very nice to work with as well. Another way to go with this would be to use furnace and take a black marker and mark all along the outer edge of the feather. And we're going to wind this hackle right in front of the wing. Something I should say about the wing is it's fairly short on her flies. If it extends at all beyond the bend of the hook, it's only slightly. Hans Velleman has a website with a full page of Alice's flies, and you should go to that page and just study all of her flies. I'm fortunate. I have a collection of her work, and you can learn a lot just looking at her stuff. She's one of the great tyers. I always say Alice knows all the old ways and all of the new. Her breadth of knowledge goes back literally hundreds of years. Just do a whip finish here and we'll be done. This fly is, as done by Alice herself, can be found on the page that on Hans' site that I'll link in the description below. And we'll get this prettied up and glued up, and I'll show it to you here. I fished this fly in the Mad River. The first time I ever fished it, I'd had a horrible day. It was one of those days that nothing was moving on the Mad. And finally saw a fish flash, put this fly on, made a couple of really terrible casts, and the fish moved about 10 feet to take it. It was amazing. It's a fabulous fly in the spring. I really hope you'll tie this or a version of this. You can use furnace hackle if you have that. It'll work. It's just this fly just works. It's a good one. Have fun.